It's 7:30. It's March 9th. This is our first council meeting of the month of March for 2021. Everybody welcome. The meeting is called to order. Folks, if you could join me in please pledging the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please. Angela.
Corey Scott.
Here.
James Fee.
Here.
Randy Bennett.
Here.
Megan Nolan.
Here.
Diane Gundrum. Here. Tony Heil.
Here.
Kyle Shank.
Here. All seven accounted for. Thank you, Angela. And folks, for the record, we were in executive session from 7 to 7:30 discussing some potential liability matters. With that said, Mr. Truman.
Thank you, President Shank. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to the viewing audience. I'm going to be sharing my screen now, going to a PowerPoint presentation. All right. Everybody can see this? All right, thank you. All right, first up, for council consideration, resolution 2021-3, authorizing a grant application for the 2021 round of the Montco 2040 program, funding program. A lot of 20s in there, pardon me. All right, just for everybody's edification, this year, the funding project, or the project for which we are seeking funding, is entitled the Bridgeport Train Station Beautification Project. I have a few photographs here. Hopefully they come through on the recording properly. But before we get to those photographs, just a brief breakdown of the cost estimate. The estimated project cost for this undertaking would be about $226,000. Per the guidelines of the 2040 grant funding program, they require municipalities to provide a local match of 20%, which would come out to $45,271 and change being spent from the borough capital projects monies. And we would be requesting a total of $181,086 in county grant funding. I do want to reiterate that these are tentative projected costs due to the nature of the project. As you will see shortly, there could be some considerable vacillation in what the project ends up costing. Members of council, members of the audience, what you see here are a few different vantage points of the Norristown high-speed line and the streets that lead to the Bridgeport train station, which is on the NHSL, the high-speed line trail spur. The top left photograph, you're looking at the train embankment wall from the intersection of 6th and Marion. Standing in 6th Street, looking at Marion going up, which is a one-way. You will notice the condition of the embankment wall. There is graffiti in several places. In other places, there is old primer paint in rectangles and squares, which is covering up previous iterations of graffiti. The picture to your right is a photograph of the current main means of access, main ingress and egress to and from the Bridgeport train station. It is a narrow macadam walking path that comes up off of 5th Street. You can see the empty sign, the sign holder there with graffiti on it as well. And the bottom left corner is a photograph of the train embankment wall looking from the intersection of 6th and Green standing in the middle of 6th, looking down Marion, or 6th and Marion, excuse me. Standing, I think I got my streets wrong there a couple times, pardon me. The top left photo is of 5th and Marion, standing in 5th, looking up Marion. And the bottom left photo is 6th and Marion, standing on 6th, looking down Marion, looking at basically the same point where I had taken the top left photograph. In short, this train embankment is not an attractive feature of the borough. There are a lot of potential upgrades that could be done, beautification, both functional and cosmetic improvements that could be done to this train station. As we again look at the narrow macadam sidewalk, the main path that people take to and from the station, once it's dark out, this path is nestled between the side of a residential property and the elevated train station. It's secluded, it's dark, and folks may not feel terribly safe walking to and from the train station. Now, I think we all realize that by and large, Bridgeport is a very safe community to live in, but unfortunately, perception shapes how we act. And I would hate to see this valuable amenity that the community has go underutilized due to misperceptions. Therefore, what this project is recommending is, number one, the installation of new curb and sidewalk along the Marion Street train embankment. In other words, going from 6th down to 5th, where the line of snow is there, would be a new sidewalk, curb and sidewalk installation. Thereby, as currently, if people don't want to walk on the macadam path that comes up off of 5th Street, they then instead have to basically walk up the middle of walk-in traffic and walk up Marion Street and risk interactions with a vehicle. So to mitigate this, this project seeks to install new curb and sidewalk from 6th down to 5th along Marion Street right here. And additionally, seeks to beautify this train embankment wall with a series of murals. And I apologize for the quality of these scanned photographs. They certainly don't do the artist's rendering any justice. And I would additionally reiterate that the images that you see here, the potential themes and imagery that you see superimposed on these train embankment walls, are not set in stone. These are artist renderings, hypothetical, theoretical images and designs that we could potentially utilize when we finally make the decision on what the imagery and theme is going to be. I think this presents a great opportunity to potentially get public input and collaborate and cooperate between both the elected officials and the community at large. Get some suggestions on what types of imagery they might like in order to get better overall community buy-in on what the finished product looks like. But here you see the artist named it deemed it phase 1, but this is just basically section 1. This would be the underpass that leads back to Chiquino Field and the train station parking lot. This would be the Marion Street underpass. And you see some imagery of young baseball players, Little League baseball players, as potential mural ideas for this underpass portion of the walls. Phase 2 and the primary focal point of the project would be a much larger mural that would go on the 5th Street overpass, which additionally serves as one of our several community gateways leading into Bridgeport from Upper Marion. as it's currently constituted, even though the fact that we have the Norristown high-speed line running through the borough, and we have the train station right in the heart of the borough, it's not necessarily the most cosmetically appealing community gateway. I think that installing this curb and sidewalk and installing this mural art on the train embankment wall not only provides rail commuters with a safer, more prominent, more out in the open means of ingress and egress leading to and from the train station, but it also should cosmetically improve what is a vital community gateway. So here we're looking at phase 2. You see some imagery of Washington crossing the Schuylkill. You see the borough seal blown up and kind of brought to life, reimagined. And again, you see some other potential ideas for imagery. And then phase 3 would be the 245 or 250 foot stretch where the sidewalk installation is also proposed, where again you see some other imagery of that harkens to the past of Bridgeport, the steam locomotive there, an iron worker, and some other just decorative imagery. So that being said, and I'm sorry, I thought I had another page there. That being said, that is the proposal for this year's 2021 2040 funding project, the Bridgeport train station beautification project. Again, I'm seeking council authorization or adoption of the resolution that is required for application to this funding project. If there are any questions, please feel free.
Keith, I think this looks great. I had a quick question. You mentioned the gateway in this phase 2. Does the bike trail or the proposed bike trail when it's being built, does that run through that area as well? I thought it ran close to there.
It will. That is an excellent point, Corey. It will run directly right across the street from the top left photograph right here. That's right where it's going to cut across Ross Road / 5th Street and go back behind Chariot Graphics, that building there. So yes, that's another added benefit of this project. We're hoping that regional rail commuters and trail users will intersect and overlap there, and we'll have folks using the trail also benefiting from the improved access to the train station, and vice versa. Folks hopping off the train station potentially using the new Chester Valley Trail.
So first, we've been talking with the Montgomery County Planning Commission about new kinds of rules to enhance walkability and livability in the borough, and I think that improving this area goes really well with what we're trying to accomplish for the future. And so I'm glad that this is a priority for you, Keith. I think it's going to be a big positive. Whatever ends up being the final product, I think it's going to make other parts of the borough attractive to people moving in here, and hopefully people who move in here who don't need to rely on a car. I think Bridgeport's moving into a direction where instead of only worrying about parking, we're going to have more and more residents who come here not needing a car, which would be a great benefit in general. My one question is, so the process here would be, if we get the 2040 grant to approve, then we would have to recruit the artist and get that approval. So there's a process there for how that would come together. What would it pay for exactly? I forget that part.
What would the grant is the grant funding that we're asking for, Tony, would pay for the sidewalk installation as well as the mural artwork. I have thus far 2 cost estimates from mural artists. And you know, every just like every vendor and contractor is different and presents a proposal with their own specific nuance, so too are artists very different and have different ideas and proposals for what is, you know, theoretically their canvas, this train embankment wall.
Just like with when we do paving, we get different invoice things to bid on. So what we'll do at that point is we'll have the different things that we can choose from, and we'll know both their expected costs and their vision for what we want to do.
Yeah, and I guess I think getting more to your point, one of the reasons that I had asked the artist to the person who provided this proposal to break it down into 3 separate segments or phases or projects, so to speak, is because, you know, there's no guarantee, just like any grant, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the maximum award or exactly how much we asked for. So if we wind up getting a grant award substantially less than the $181,000 that we asked for, we still have some optionality. We might be able to just do phase 2, or we might be able to do phase 1 and 3. I think the sidewalk, the curb and sidewalk, is crucial and a component of the project, irrespective of whether we can do all of the artwork. I think that depending on what the funding is, we get the curb and sidewalk done, and which is really not a large, not a huge expense for 250 linear feet of curb and sidewalk. And whatever is remaining thereafter with the grant funding, we have some optionality as to how much of this mural gets completed in this initial phase of the beautification project, because there are other aspects of other upgrades and improvements that I'm working with SEPTA to undertake on this at this train station. This project, this proposal with the mural artwork, has the full support of SEPTA, and we are also currently looking at some other upgrades in terms of potentially landscaping and lighting and some other features that SEPTA may or may not be able to assist us with funding on as well. We have not gotten to that point yet. So,
Right. No, don't want to put the cart ahead of the.
that's correct.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith. I actually was going to ask about what SEPTA's involvement with any of this was, because I know I take the high-speed line, and over the past 12 years or however many years I've been using that to commute, I've seen all their projects that they've been doing on the line, and so it's about time something happens with the Bridgeport station. So I would hope that they would be doing, their share of something, and then we get this beautification with the murals. I think, it's a perfectly cromulent train station, but it could be better, and it needs to be better. So, but I love the idea of having a mural there.
And just because I know folks are going to watch this, what we're looking at here as far as the mural art, again, to reiterate, this is just to show sort of where we are expecting to paint, not the finished idea or not the finished final decision on what the images are. That is correct. Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then I will make a motion to move forward with this grant application.
I'll second.
Adoption of resolution 2021-3.
Right.
I heard a motion there from Mr. Heil. I think it was seconded by Mr. Scott to adopt resolution 2021-003, authorizing this grant application. Any other questions or comments from council? And Keith, thank you for putting so much legwork into this already.
Thank you.
You got it. Hearing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Very good. Next, for council consideration, a fee waiver request from St. John the Baptist Church at 502 Ford Street. Members of council, in your packets, you will find a fee waiver request letter from the applicant, St. John the Baptist Church. The project that they are seeking monetary relief for is the installation of a new heating system. The estimated cost of the permit, i.e. what the amount that we would be waiving, is $164. And
So
custom,
moved.
yes, thank you.
Sorry, Keith.
No, that's okay. You guys, we customarily do grant these. So.
I was gonna say it seems like it's in line with other issues in the past similar to this, and for that reason, I would make a motion to grant this relief.
Second.
Heard a motion there from Mr. Bennett. It was seconded by Ms. Gundrum to grant a waiver of fees for the request from St. John the Baptist Catholic Church. Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Very good. Next, for council consideration, Resolution 2021-004, providing for the sale and transfer of borough property located behind 35 West Front Street. Members of council, in your packets, you have a small information packet and memorandum from myself explaining the impetus of this sale and transfer and subsequent resolution for the benefit of the audience who sees, oh, the borough's selling property. Please allow me to explain a little bit further and allow me to pull up the attached map. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are looking at here is an overhead parcel map of the borough, particularly the teens block of Front Street. This is the intersection. This is Front Street here, and this is Mill Street. The parcel that is highlighted in orange abuts the rear yards of most of the properties that are on this teens block of West Front Street, the block that goes from Mill to Depot. It's tough to see, but the property has no owner of record. It simply says NA or not applicable on the parcel. After a little bit of research, it was determined that long ago this parcel was owned by the Schuylkill River Canal Company, and over the years, as the Schuylkill River Canal was inevitably buried and forgotten, the Schuylkill River Canal Company disbanded, and ownership of the property kind of went into the ether. In situations such as this, and every municipality has a handful of these properties, and sometime, and depending on the mitigating circumstances around them, discover them sooner than later from time to time. As I was saying, every municipality has a handful of these. This is Bridgeport's anomalous parcel. Despite the fact that there's no owner of record in situations like this, the ownership does revert back to the borough. Now, everybody can see the outlined orange parcel. I'm going to now bring up the aerial or overhead map of what this looks like. And here is the same parcel at the rear of those properties. You can see right here, this is the property that's been known as Deckman Electric right here. This property here is the property in question, 35 West Front Street, which was formerly the home of A1 Sparkles, a cleaning company. Back here in this unincorporated parcel, you can see that the A1 Sparkles building has built an addition. This addition dates back, and nobody's quite sure, 65, 75 years. The borough certainly does not have building permits on file or on record dating back that far. The property has recently sold, and with the knowledge in hand that a previous owner once upon a time built an addition on land that was not theirs, which apparently nobody in the many iterations of Borough Council and Borough Administration ever realized. Rather than holding up the sale of this property, rather than potentially litigating this in a court of law, which, heaven knows what side, who would come out favorable on that one. We believe, we being the borough professionals, that the most expeditious and judicious way to resolve this was to allow the sale to go through, provided the owner of the property were to redraw their deed to incorporate the meets and bounds of that addition into the overall footprint of their deed, and bear the cost of all that surveying and deed amending and subsequent recording with the county. As a result, because despite the fact that we aren't the owner of record, that property in these situations does revert back to the borough. We do need to, at least on paper, acknowledge that we are selling and transferring this property over to the owners of 35 West Front Street. And because of the nature of this land, i.e. it was former canal runoff area, and there isn't a lot of pragmatic functionality for this land, and the building's been there for so long, we think it's the right thing to do to charge a nominal fee of $1 for this transaction. So that, in short, is the crux of this resolution, to formalize the transfer of this of this portion of land that has the building sitting on it over to the owners of 35 West Front Street.
Yeah, I don't, looking at the aerial here, I don't see that there would be much of a marketable use for it. Certainly the borough wouldn't be able to do much with it, and even otherwise the costs associated with subdividing and putting everything on the leases and doing the paperwork would probably prohibit anything from being done with this except what we're doing. That's my read. Keith, would you agree?
I would.
Yeah. Okay.
Is this for the entire lot or just the section where the building exists?
Only the footprint of the building, Mr. Scott.
So the remainder of that would stay?
The remainder of all of that property that does not have that white building on it will remain borough owned.
Makes perfect sense to me.
I guess, do you need someone to make a motion now, or?
A motion to adopt resolution 2021-4. Yes, please.
All right, then I will make that motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Ms. Nolan, seconded by Mr. Scott, to adopt resolution 2021-4 regarding the transfer of this this unincorporated parcel. Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none, then all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I do not hear any, so that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Moving forward. For council consideration, authorization to make purchase of interview room audiovisual equipment system from Advanced Electronic Security. Members of council, in your packets, you will find a handful of cost estimates and quotes for this project. This is part of the approved capital fund purchases that were earmarked for the police department during the 2021 budget development process. Chief Beretta, if you have anything that you would like to elaborate on before council makes this vote, the floor is yours, sir.
Sure. So good evening. This is definitely the best cost for a high quality product, bare bones. So I know that we talked about probably made costs and estimations over $11,000. And so this is just over $6,000. And then after the 2-year, and there's some reoccurring costs, but the costs are bare bones to get us a high quality product that will serve us for years and add in transparency.
And just Chief, this would be, and you know, everybody watching may not know this, this would be for an interview room that we do have in the police station by Borough Hall.
Correct. It's a room that is not currently used for interviewing now, but will be. And this way we have a better quality rendition of what's actually said. Makes for better prosecutions and again, greater transparency because there's an audio video record of the interviews.
Chief, this is also basically an unfunded mandate coming from the county, correct?
Correct. Well, that's their best practice. The county is going to that, to these audio visual rooms. They can't tell Bridgeport that you absolutely have to do it, but it's a best practice. It's certainly the direction it needs to go. Most of our surrounding partners and just over the border in Chester County, Upper Merion, and the other larger places will have this. Again, it takes the question out of what was actually said, because we're going to get an opportunity to hear and see the person themselves follow up with the actual interview.
Very good.
Mr. Do you have a timeline from this point to completion, installation, and some training for the officers?
Yeah, Mr. Bennett, it's just as really as soon as they can get the system in. I had spoke with some of these folks about 2 weeks ago, and it shouldn't take long once we pull the trigger for this. The follow-up to that is I've already started some training for investigators first, so that it was a 1-day training. I had about 4 officers in to do the train up how to conduct these interviews, because it's a piece of equipment. It really most important thing that you have tools is the officer with their minds. So we should be able to get something like this on board for a setup, probably 30-45 days, give or take.
Well, it sounds like something beneficial to the department, and to the borough. And if there's nothing else, I would certainly make a motion to move forward if you're comfortable with the vendor and comfortable with the system, and it works for the borough budgetarily. I'm making a motion to go forward with it.
I'll second. I think it's a really good thing for both the police and for justice in general. So I'll second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Bennett. It was seconded by Mr. Heil to approve the purchase of the AV upgrades for the interview room and the police department. Any additional questions or comments from folks on council? Hearing none, then all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you, folks, and thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Moving forward to unfinished business. Are there any members of council with matters of unfinished business for this evening? Okay, seeing none, we can proceed to committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
I have just a quick update. We had our community events committee meeting last week, and I'm pleased to share that we will be having some community events this year. While we think we can do some pretty safely outdoors, you know, with some COVID restrictions, obviously. Just a little tease, we'll be doing some movie nights, and that's through the borough, and then working together with Growing Bridgeport together, reintroducing Twilight on the River. So we'll have more details to that to come.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any other, committee reports?
I just want to say on a finance aspect, while we didn't have a committee meeting since that last meeting, I know from talking with Keith that Keith and Ed have been looking at the potential for new capital allotments from whether it's the American Rescue Plan, which is going to provide a lot of money for state and local funding, or other federal money. They have a lot of plans already in the pipe work for if money comes available. So I'm hopeful that we can make some really good investments in Bridgeport if that money becomes available. And I'm grateful, Keith, that you already have that ready instead of having to do it at the last minute.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward to the mayor's report. Mayor Barbie, do you have anything for us, sir?
For this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Barbie. Moving forward to the chief's report. Chief Beretta.
Yeah, so you might have seen I posted some pictures. We're using some of the signage that we received in the 2020 budget with some of those Evolus radar signs. I know a lot of people will sometimes, cite or complain about issues on traffic ways. So we were getting together, about 4 of us, training on the use of all those signs. So the radar speed signs and the large orange signs. So we had a good meeting with all the traffic officers. I would like to put it out there that if people could pay exceptional attention when they're traveling on Ford Street during the school zone, in the school zone, during the times of schools in, we'll have a police presence there. But especially the complaints I'm getting is that the traffic that's going westbound on Ford Street that might have their light in their eyes or people can't see where they're going, just pass it around, talk amongst your friends and your neighbors. Please pay special attention going there, because we do, especially around 3:30, have kids crossing and our crossing guards there. So no matter how many signs we put out, no matter how many red and blue lights sitting in the zone, it's still up to each one of us to be careful, there. And just that we've increased our training, like I was talking to Councilman Bennett. So we had our training on interviews, and we've got some more training coming up. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Beretta. Moving forward to new business. Are there any items of new business that members of council wish to discuss this evening? Okay, seeing none, we can move forward to open forum and announcements. Any announcements for this evening? Okay, then let's proceed to public comment. Members of council, we did receive one public comment. Is submitted to our info@ inbox earlier today. It is a letter from a Matthew and Allison Cowden. They are residents of 59 West 5th Street. They are also landlords or property owners of a rental property at 607 DeKalb Street. Members of council, generally, as you're aware, public comment is restricted to, a question or a sentence or 3. This, however, is a 2-page letter. While I will not read the entirety of the letter verbatim, into the public record this evening, we will absolutely attach a copy of the letter to the minutes as addenda. Please allow me to paraphrase the crux of the matter of which they are writing. Mr. and Mrs. Cowden have concerns regarding a notice they have received from Borough Code Enforcement regarding a determination that the curb located at their rental property at 607 DeKalb Street needs to be replaced in conjunction with our annual rental inspection program. They go on to explain their reasons for being displeased with this determination, which is, completely understandable. And furthermore, the two main points that I take away from their letter are the following. They ask that council would review two areas of the language in Chapter 485, which is titled Streets and Sidewalks, from Bridgeport Borough Code. They ask, number one, if council would consider amending 485-25 to exempt existing stone curbs. Secondly, they ask that section 485-27, which is the violations and penalties, which spells out the potential punitive measures that could be taken for noncompliance. They ask that this section's language be quote unquote reined in. Certainly we can discuss this matter further and potentially come up with solutions that might be more amicable to residents. However, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend that we publicly adjudicate a matter of this nature, at the spur of the moment of this, having a letter of this nature foisted upon us. I will make one note pertaining to section 485-27, the violations and penalties portion of this section of Borough Code. It does say, and I quote, "Any person who shall be convicted of a violation of any of the provisions of this article before any magisterial district justice shall be punishable by a fine of not more than $1,000 and costs of prosecution, or by imprisonment in the county jail for a term not to exceed 30 days, or by both such fine and imprisonment," so on and so forth. Furthermore, it says the continuation of such violation for each successive day shall constitute a separate offense. In other words, they could be cited and fined in this nature on a daily basis until they come into compliance, and they voice great concern with this aspect. I will note that number one, the fine and potential jail time provisions in this section are effectively uniform across the board in Borough Code. If you look at any potential violation for any subsection or clause within Borough Code, the potential fine says it could be up to $1,000 and 30 days imprisonment in jail. Rest assured, Bridgeport Code Enforcement, Bridgeport Borough Administration would never seek such a steep and exorbitant fine or jail sentence for a effectively more mundane violation of this nature. Frankly, Bridgeport Code Enforcement and Bridgeport Administration would not cite and fine somebody who has reached out to the borough, made contact with the borough, and stays in communication with the borough, despite the fact that they're grieving and appealing the determination. If you've contacted code enforcement and asked for more time or appealed the matter, and you haven't just simply ignored or flouted the notices and letters that code enforcement sends you, you are in no danger of receiving a fine anywhere near reaching $1,000, and perish the thought of the suggestion of 30 days imprisonment. So while I understand that your average citizen may see this and their jaw might hit the ground, believe me, it is not a viable concern. It is not a concern that anybody who, again, has not just absolutely disregarded the borough's attempts to communicate and contact, have anything to worry about.
Thanks for the rundown there, Keith. I think everybody watching the curb discussion goes back and forth every few years, and right now we're coming up on that discussion again. I think it would be good for council to let you, Mr. Truman, circle back with code enforcement and potentially our solicitor, and just look for ways that we might be able to alleviate some of the rush or some of the pressure or some of the costs associated with this for homeowners. I don't think we should necessarily make a determination now on how we're going to enforce this, nor certainly change any ordinance now. Keith, I think we come back with some options on that. That would be much appreciated.
I'd be happy to.
And Keith, just to reiterate from what you were saying, when you're talking about borough code, because people may not realize this is Pennsylvania borough code for a lot of this stuff with the wording, not like anyone in Bridgeport, this council or previous one, came up with those rules out of thin air.
Well, so to your point, Tony, I will say that the responsibility of a property owner, a homeowner, a business owner to maintain and upkeep the curb and sidewalk that abuts their property, that is delineated in Pennsylvania Borough Code. And Bridgeport, along with a litany of other townships and boroughs throughout Pennsylvania, has adopted similar language in their code. So no, this is not a requirement that is unique to Bridgeport. Countless other municipalities in the county, let alone the state, also require residents and property owners to maintain and upkeep their curb and sidewalk. As for the fine, the fine and the potential jail time, again, yes, that is a prescribed uniform level of punishment that is, again, taken from PA Borough Code and applied uniformly to a host of other potential code violations. If we have no further comment on that public comment, unless there are any other items that need to be discussed, we could certainly.
I will say, Mr. Truman, to the Cowdens, thank you for sending an email in with your concern. Everybody watching, whether it's a code enforcement item, a public safety item, anything that you are concerned with in the borough that you want to get in front of this council, in front of our police chief, in front of our borough administration, please contact us at Borough Hall. That is the best way to get eyeballs on your question, your concern, what have you. So thank you to the Cowdens for taking the time to write that out and get it in the Borough Hall. That's helpful.
Very good. Thank you, President Schenk. If there's nothing further, then council can certainly entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And got a motion there for Mr. Heil, seconded by Ms. Nolan. Thank you, folks, for watching the meeting this evening. It is 8:22. Everybody, please stay safe. Please continue to follow the guidance from the health department. Please, please, please go get vaccinated as soon as you are able to. And we will see you out there as soon as we can. Meeting adjourned.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night.